Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Cold Lasagna Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Lasagna, once again bringing you all the filthy casual takes on the world of sports for you casual sports fans out there like you and me. This is episode number 301, and in this episode, we're here to once again round out the week that was in the 2025 NFL season, and wrapping up week number 10, and moving ahead to week number 11. And this week was, I'd say, another mixed bag. Another mixed bag as we begin the second half of this current NFL season. So, we're going to get into it here in this episode. So, before we do, as you know, the usual, or maybe the not so usual if you're a new listener. And if you are a new listener, make sure you follow the show on social media at Very Cold Lasagna on Twitter and Instagram. And if you're an audio listener listening to this show, wherever you get your podcast, whether it's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to rate and review the show. And if you're watching this on YouTube, what the heck are you waiting for? If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified of each and every upload. Hit the like button so this podcast reaches across the YouTube algorithm, and leave your comments down below with your takes and your opinions on the topic at hand, that being week number 10 of the 2025 NFL season, as we're here to once again do our NFL week in review. And of course, share this with your friends, your neighbors, some other people out there around you. The good, the bad, the ugly needs to be shared about Very Cold Lasagna. So that being said, let's get into our week in review about the 2025 NFL season. Week number 5? Week number 5, 10. Oh yeah, 10. I'm losing track of the weeks because, But anyway, we're on week number 10 in the 2025 NFL season. And it was another mixed bag. And it started out and ended in poor fashion, in my opinion. But let's look at the teams that went on vacay this week, and we'll be back next week. Those teams were the Cincinnati Bengals, the Dallas Cowboys, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Tennessee Titans. So for those teams and the fans of those teams, you got a little bit of a week of barely any stress. You got to watch all the action this week, stress-free, and you'll be back to stressing out over your team next week. But anyway, let's talk about the games from this past week. Starting with Thursday Night Football, only for that Amazon Prime, Jeff Bezos money that is now charging however much money for NBA action with no local broadcasting, by the way, as the Denver Broncos took on the Las Vegas Raiders in what became a theme starting from here this past week, that neither team seemed interested in winning. But Will Lutz hit the go-ahead field goal at the end of the third quarter, and, well, that proved to be just enough to win an ugly one in favor of Denver over the Raiders, 10-7. Yeah. This game was ugly for both teams, and I did not like it. One of the ugliest and worst Thursday night games in the history of our sport. For the Las Vegas Raiders, they couldn't take advantage of Denver's many, many mistakes in this game. And it's funny because Geno Smith and the Raiders offense got off to a good start with an opening drive touchdown in quick fashion. And while the defense kept on forcing Bo Nix into one of his worst performances all year, the team couldn't take advantage of that, especially on offense. The Raiders committed nearly as many penalties as Denver, and drives ended in quick order because of Geno Smith being sacked for holding onto the ball too long, and again, mistakes. What could have been an upset for the Raiders, it got thwarted instead by their own undoing. Meanwhile, for the Denver Broncos, that showing on Thursday was probably one of the most prime examples of just how very inconsistent they are on offense. These slow starts on offense, it has to stop. And it's just not just the inconsistency. This was just downright ugly by Bo Nix and company. It's like as if they hit a wall. They consistently hit a wall every other week. Bo Nix making unnecessary deep balls that get intercepted. Receivers having butterfingers like eating the candy before the game, and then no wonder why they dropped the ball, literally. And had it not been for the Raiders' own failures to crack the Denver defense, well, they would have lost this game. This offense can't afford this kind of start nor overall performance against a much more superior AFC West rival next week against the Chiefs at home, who are coming off the bye. I mean, sure, Denver will have a mini bye, and for the Chiefs, they're going to be frustrated as hell when they coming off that loss to the Bills prior. So Denver, they need to wake up again on offense and consistently carry that going forward. Now going to the sunny slate of games, starting with the early morning portion in one of the last two international games, this time in Berlin, as the Indianapolis Colts took on the Atlanta Falcons in a game that, it went into overtime for some reason. But anyway, Jonathan Taylor completed another hat trick game as his third and game-winning touchdown in the extra period saved the Colts 31-25 in the extra period. For the Atlanta Falcons in this game, Raheem Morris, he at least got nice production out of Tyler Algier, who got the go-ahead touchdown before the Colts sent the game into overtime. It's clearly not enough for this offense. That needs to be more than Drake London and Bijan Robinson. Again, even though you got Tyler Algier involved, they need more out of Michael Penix Jr. They need more consistency from his starting quarterback, because since the Week 6 game against the Bills, which they won in a surprising upset, Penix Jr. has been really off his game. This week, he got sacked 3 times, underthrew a sure touchdown to Michael Penix, not to himself, to Kyle Pitts, his tight end, who also needs to get more involved. And for some reason, he has not been since he got drafted. So, whereas the Colts have the bye next week to figure their own issues, the Falcons no longer have that benefit this time around to fix their issues again. So they're gonna have to do it again to salvage their season. Meanwhile, for the Indianapolis Colts, Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones have to be very thankful for Jonathan Taylor for saving this team right now, because the offense in the last couple of weeks have been hitting a wall. I mean, a Berlin Wall, you may say. Sure, why not? Last week, the Steelers forced Daniel Jones into his own self, Danny Pennies. And this week, the Falcons again constantly rattled Daniel Jones into a couple of mistakes that he honestly could have prevented. Daniel Jones at least came through with some big runs in key 3rd and 4th down situations late in the game. And that led to the game going to overtime. And of course, Jonathan Taylor getting the game winner. But this offense has a lot to clean up that has suddenly started to crack. But at least it comes at a good time. They have the bye week to to rethink, reconfigure before going into a major matchup the following week against the Chiefs coming out of the bye, and especially going into the home stretch of the season if they want people to take them serious as legit playoff contenders. Meanwhile, down in Carolina, the New Orleans Saints took on the Panthers in what was a low-scoring affair, but Tyler Show rebounded from a tough first start in LA as he threw a late touchdown to Juwan Johnson to ice this one against Carolina, 17-7. So, I mean, Tyler Show, I don't really have much to say about him, but his defense, though, it really did a number on Bryce Young and the offense, but mainly Rico Dowdle. They really had a nice game plan entering this contest to sell out on the run, to stop Rico Dowdle, and it worked very well because that meant they could pick apart Bryce Young, make him the focal point of the offense, and expose him as a pretty low mid quarterback. And that resulted in that defense held Rico Dowdle to his worst performance since September, holding him to just 50 yards, even with a touchdown to his name, but on 18 carries. So the Saints are still not going anywhere though. They're 2-8, but not a bad game to help out your quarterback and kind of ruin the Panthers' chances at a playoff berth, at least for right now. Meanwhile, for the Carolina Panthers, with Rico Dowdle constantly being shut down by the Saints defense, the spotlight was once again shown on Bryce Young, and as had been in the past, it was too bright for this quarterback. He whiffed on too many passes. He turned over the ball twice en route to this loss. Once again, raising those questions about, well, is Bryce Young really the guy that Carolina wants to invest in? Well, chances are relatively low. And now, going into the next stretch of games before the bye week, it doesn't get any easier for the Kitties in Blue, because next up, you got a 2-game road stretch against the Atlanta Falcons and a defenseless San Francisco 49ers before they go take on a bigger animal at home in the LA Rams before the bye week. So, the Kitties in Blue are kind of in trouble here. Meanwhile, down in Chicago, the Bears took on the New York Giants, and it was a little bit of a rough stretch for the Bears before Caleb Williams took over, helped the Bears come back from a 17-7 third quarter deficit, taking the lead with less than 2 minutes to go on a big run before the defense stopped the Giants, and they went on to beat them 24-20. Boy, what else can you say about the Giants? Yeah, they're chokers. They're absolute chokers. Again, that was worsened by Jackson Dart getting concussed in this game. Jackson Dart has been the beam of positivity for Big Blue fans out there. Again, what else can I say about Jackson Dart? He's been making big plays with his arms, his legs, and yeah, even though he has scrubs on offense now, but still trying to make the best out of a shitty situation. But overall, even in this game, though, it was at least a somewhat respectable showing. They went up 17-7 in the third quarter, but everything went downhill when Jackson Dart's mobility would finally cost him. When he got hit hard, he landed on his head, and he also lost a fumble in the process, too. So, yeah, you take out Jackson Dart, and in comes in Russell Wilson, and the Giants, as they did in the first 3 games of the season, they were non-existent, which paved the way for the Bears' comeback. So, as of right now, like, the Giants are unsure if Jackson Dart is going to be available for the next game, but I know one person that won't be there for the Giants' next game, and that's the head coach, Brian Daboll. Yeah, Brian Daboll has officially been fired by the Giants on Monday. He was fired on Monday, so the Daboll is no longer there. Yeah, Brian Daboll, since that 2022 playoff berth with a divisional loss to his name. I mean, as far as the divisional playoffs, yeah, nothing else to his name, unfortunately. But hopefully he gets back on his feet. But when it came to his Giants tenure, not much. He was also part of Joe Chosen and him, preferring to give Daniel Jones that big fat contract over Saquon. Yeah, look what happened there. But again, they at least got Jackson Dart now. Now it's just a matter of the Big Blue G-Man having to find the right coach. Yet Joe Chosen is still there. Meanwhile, for the Chicago Bears, yeah, they're winning ugly games, but hey, they at least got Caleb Williams starting to heat up a little bit when it matters most. Making big plays, often finding Romeo Odunze in the air, and again, using his mobility, even if it means, again, taking a really long time to develop plays, but he's still using his mobility, got the go-ahead score to win the game. But again, he'll still have to learn to get plays out faster, but it looks like he and the offense are finding its groove. Hopefully at the right time, and to get a playoff spot. Meanwhile, down in Houston, the Texans took on the Jacksonville Jaguars in the rematch of Week 3, where the Jaguars beat the Texans at home 17-10. But this time around, just when it seemed like the Jaguars were gonna decisively win this game, the Texans stormed back in the fourth quarter when they were down 29-10. The Texans, with Davis Mills, they furiously came back in this one, finishing the comeback with Davis Mills rushing for a touchdown and Sheldon Rankins, putting the cherry on top with a strip sack and a scoop and score on Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, winning this one 36-29. Oh, the all elite Jaguars with an all elite choke. Because of course. And you look at this game and you look at how Trevor Lawrence did. Yes, he's missing his top two receivers. But the fact that he couldn't get the offense moving at all in the second half, that was putrid. Absolutely putrid, which led to this choke. And when the Jags lost that lead in the waning moments of this game, and Lawrence had a chance to go play hero. That's all he had to do. Go play hero, get his kicker into field goal range. You know, the same kicker that had the NFL record last week, took over Justin Tucker for the NFL record, the longest field goal in history. Nope, couldn't even do that. He miserably failed to the point where you could see Liam Cohen visibly pissed off, threw his play sheet and his headset hard to the ground. Yep, that was the lasting visual of how distrusting, maybe distrusting in how much faith Liam Cohen has lost potentially in his quarterback. But anyway, on the Texans side of things, despite a very slow start to this game, Davis Mills and the whole offense persevered their way back in this one, courtesy of 2 touchdowns by Davis Mills in the fourth quarter. The defense also played a lot better up front in harassing Trevor Lawrence and giving Mills those chances needed to get back in this one rapidly. So overall, when you look at the Texans, Davis Mills really played well in the fourth quarter, at least, to win an upset of sorts. So I'm not sure if it's kind of season saving, but maybe not, given that the AFC is a little stacked at the moment. But you never know. But if CJ Stroud is out another week, Mills can serve as a fine fill-in until Stroud is fully cleared to come back from the concussion. But yeah, they face the Titans next week. So I feel like Mills can serve as a fill-in to potentially win that game. Meanwhile, down in Miami, the Dolphins took on the Buffalo Bills in a rematch from their own Week 3 meeting, which the Bills won at home 27-24 on a Thursday night. But this time around, it was much, much different as the Dolphins raced out to a 16-0 lead before the defense held Josh Allen in check, and Devon Achane sealed the upset with 2 big runs in the fourth quarter, decisively handing the Bills 30-13. And oh boy, the Buffalo Bills, man. Like after 2 weeks? 2 weeks of going back to their normal selves after the bye week, they crumble back down to earth, down to who they were before the bye week, an inconsistent and beaten up team. But say what you want about Josh Allen. I can say what I want about Josh Allen. I've raved about Josh Allen, but I can't in this one, because Josh Allen made very avoidable mistakes in this game that cost his team. Notably, the tush push, where he could have just went down after he got the first down. But no, he decided to get a little cocky, tried to carry the defenders with him until he got down. And then what happens? He got the ball punched out of him. And then several plays earlier, and when the Bills had their first chance at points, he throws an interception. So those 2 chances to climb back in the game, yeah, they were fumbled, quite literally. While also more injuries occurred for the Bills in Dalton Kincaid, for example. So the Bills are already beaten up as they are, but they need more from everyone around the MVP and the MVP himself. They gotta make less mistakes if they hope to get a playoff spot, because, well, New England is on the rise and playing much better than them right now. Meanwhile, for the Miami Dolphins, what can I say about the Miami Dolphins? Sorry, I got a text message, but anyway, the Miami Dolphins. There are still going to be plenty of questions about Mike McDaniel's job security, but I gotta say, probably one of the best wins of the season, and a great team effort to have after what seemed like a push to sell at the trade deadline and what seemed like what was going to be a tank job to get Mike McDaniel fired. But no, they rallied around Mike McDaniel, and I'll give credit to that. The Dolphins defense severely limited Josh Allen and created 3 turnovers total. And Tua and the offense, even with some mistakes, they were equally on par. So this was a great team effort that had the team respond to all the questions surrounding last week's very bad loss. So I still don't think the team will make the playoffs because of everything, all the inconsistencies, all the losses that they incurred up to this point. But I feel like if they continue to play this way, they can certainly make their opponents who do have such hopes, they can certainly make them sweat and even crush those dreams. Meanwhile, down in Minnesota, the Baltimore Ravens took on the Vikings as Lamar Jackson shook off an ugly start to help the Ravens finish off the Vikings with a fourth quarter touchdown to Mark Andrews and a 2-point conversion to Rashad Bateman to beat the Vikings 27-19. And I gotta say, the Ravens are clicking right now, even with the ugly start to the game. But the defense, more notably, sure, they allowed 245 yards in the air and kept the Vikings in it until the end. But they made big stops when it mattered, forcing 2 turnovers on J.J. McCarthy and severely limiting Justin Jefferson in that game. And they also stopped it, J.J. McCarthy on downs 3 times in the final quarter. So I'd say this defense, even if they allowed a lot of air yards, they're still improving at the right time. Meanwhile, for the Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy, yes, he had a nice opening drive to start the game, had a couple nice throws, and he still was fighting hard out there on their last drive. But this just can't be the J.J. McCarthy show. Like, there's not enough balance in this offense, especially in this game. They made one too many mistakes. 7 false starts. Like, at home, how do you even do that? 2 turnovers from McCarthy and a very off day from Justin Jefferson. Everyone but Justin Jefferson was contributing. It also didn't help that Kevin O'Connell was calling way more passing plays than runs. Like, why Kevin O'Connell stop going from the run when Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason were doing all right? So Kevin O'Connell has to balance out the offense to help out his technically rookie quarterback. Meanwhile, down in the gang green side of New York, the Cleveland Browns took on the New York Jets as 2 special teams returned touchdowns early in the game, gave the Jets the lead before Breece Hall took over and helped the Jets seal the win with a touchdown of his own, beating the skid marks 27-20. Again, I don't have much to say about the skid marks because, they're a very bad team. Gabriel and the offense, I mean, they were doing okay in the first half, but then they went ice cold afterwards, punting on their first 2 possessions and turning it over on downs in the fourth quarter. Gabriel himself also made some decent decisions. I mean, he didn't play too poor, but not enough big ones to get the Browns into a position to score nor win the game. So we look at the skid marks right now at 2-7. Like, why aren't they starting Shedeur Sanders? Like what's stopping them from starting Shedeur? What's stopping them from finally taking a look at Shedeur? They don't have anything to lose at this point. Meanwhile, for the New York Jets, while they're still not going anywhere this year, just like the skid marks, But at least unlike the skid marks, they starting to look a little somewhat more competent, and Eric Glenn has kind of matured a little as a head coach after a goofy start. Because when you look at the team, they played with a lot more effort. Yes, it's against a crappy team, and yeah, it came after the 2 special teams touchdowns. The defense was harassing Dylan Gabriel enough that the offense, they didn't really need to do much in this game. Breece Hall finished the job, and yeah, that was all she wrote. So yeah, the Jets got their second win of the season, and we'll see where it goes from there. But yeah, I don't expect much for the Jets after this one. Meanwhile, down in Tampa Bay, the New England Patriots took on the Bucs, and it was a little bit of a tight back and forth contest. But in the end, TreVeyon Henderson's 2 breakaway touchdowns assisted the Patriots in holding off the Bucs 28-23. And I'm not sure if I said this yet, but I'll say it now. At 8-2, Drake May and the Patriots are, ladies and gentlemen, for real. Yes, they are for real. Drake May has massively improved under Josh McDaniels and Mike Vrabel, but it's not just the Drake May show. It's the much better roster construction around him, which is now a very balanced team. They possess a top 10 defense that gets to the quarterback, and the better constructed offense that has protected May. That was the goal of the offseason, building a better offensive line for Drake May, which has worked successfully, and giving him better options at receiver, which has worked successfully. And now they got a ground game established in TreVeyon Henderson to help out Drake May too. So when you look at them at 8-2, and with how strugglish the Bills are right now, at least for this season, the Patriots are back to marching over the AFC East. Meanwhile, for the Tampa Bay Bucks, the defense continues to be a major weakness. It has failed them once again, and even with 2 weeks to prepare for this game, they were exposed again on Sunday when this unit only got to Drake May just once. They only sacked him one time, and then they allowed TreVeyon to burst out for 2 big touchdown runs, the last one essentially sealing the game. And then you look at the pass defense. The pass defense perhaps is the biggest weakness of them all in this defense, with the Patriots offense going for over 400 yards. And yeah, for as much as Baker Mayfield can do, he can only do so much. The Bucks, they're lucky to be playing in the crappy NFC South, but the only place I could see them going is being that number 4 seed again and being a first round exit again. Going to the late afternoon slate of games, we had the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Arizona Cardinals in the rematch of the Week 4 meeting, where the Seahawks beat the Cardinals in a tight one on Thursday night in Arizona, 23-20. But just like with a few of the games that I talked about in like their second rematch, this one was completely different. The script was completely different. The Seahawks contributed on both ends to a very early 35-0 lead by the second quarter, which put an early end to this game against the Cardinals, which ended up being a final score of 44-22. So for the Arizona Cardinals, they had a lot of offensive issues on Sunday. Jacoby Brissett didn't play great at all in this one, and yeah, he's not the long-term starter, obviously, for the Cardinals. As I only said, he was playing better than Kyler Murray, but at the same time, this whole offense has serious issues, especially the offensive line, letting Jacoby Brissett get pressured for 5 sacks, and 2 of them getting returned for touchdowns. And then the play calling by Drew Petzing, too conservative until garbage time. So overall, when you look at this Arizona offense, yeah, they got smashed in Seattle and potentially provided a blueprint on, for other teams to expose a lot of the issues. Granted, if they take advantage of those issues, just like Seattle did. Meanwhile, for the Seahawks, they have been rolling with the very balanced team that is among one of the top in the NFL currently. Granted, they were playing a very I wouldn't necessarily say very poor Arizona team, just a very mismanaged Arizona team. So there isn't much to take away from their blasting and smashing of the Cardinals. I can take away, though, that with the game I'm going to talk about next, next week is going to be the litmus test for them as they face the Rams on the road in a big matchup for the NFC West. Because I'm going to say it now, this next game next week for the Seahawks is going to be an early matchup, a big matchup for the division. And I'm pretty sure Sam Darnold is surely to have at least learned some lessons from last year about how a similar season finale down in Detroit, how that went. So hopefully Sam Darnold has learned something about that. Meanwhile, speaking of the LA Rams, they went over to Santa Clara to take on my San Francisco 49ers in a rematch of Week 5 on a Thursday night. That happened the following week, following the Seahawks and the Cardinals. And in this Week 5 matchup, the 49ers defeated the LA Rams in LA 27-24 in a crazy game that went the extra distance. But just like with the other games that we've already discussed in their rematches, this one, again, flipped the script. And the script was completely changed as Matthew Stafford torched the 49ers defense with ease, taking a 21-0 lead in the second quarter before the Rams prevented any comeback of any kind with 2 more touchdowns in the fourth quarter to dismantle the 49ers 42-26. Obviously, as if with any episode following this one, I'm going to go more in depth with how the 49ers failed to do in my dedicated episode for them. But obviously, I'll go into a little bit of a teaser here. For the Rams, they were doing great in this game. Matthew Stafford was the story with his 4 touchdowns. 2 of them that came in the first half alone. But they might have found something in this game as well. A nice 2-back tandem when Sean McVay elected to use Blake Corum, the backup, more to help out Kyren Williams, and it worked well. The run game was a weakness last year, but with the passing game already a major strength for the Rams, this win can be a little bit of a building block for Sean McVay to kind of get a run game going. Now that he has Kyren Williams continuing to go on strong, now maybe he could start integrating Blake Corum as a little bit of a more kind of feature back to, again, take some load off of Kyren. Meanwhile, for my San Francisco 49ers, I'm going to say it out there. This probably talks to the Texans game as the most embarrassing effort of the season from the Niners defense. Look, the offense can only do so much. Like, sure, Mac Jones made mistakes, especially Juwan Jennings made his mistakes with the fumble. And yeah, at least kind of rebounded from that. But this defense, it's just so embarrassing to look at. It's 2 things that the 3 starters in Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and now Michael Williams are gone for the year. And ref ball was completely against them. Yeah, those 2 things certainly didn't help. But they can only control so much. Nearly everyone in this game was incompetent as hell. Missed tackles, missed coverage, missed everything. No pass rush, no secondary, no linebackers, no safeties. Did anyone show up to play in this game on Sunday? I was there in person to witness all that. Like, whether you were watching this on TV or watching it live in Levi Stadium in the flesh, this was embarrassing. Like, this was really embarrassing to watch. Losing Michael I guess it really was the last straw that broke the camel's back for this already broken defense. And there's still 3 games to go before their bye week. And these three opponents that they have to play, yeah, they're fuck the easy schedule. They don't seem easy anymore given this shitty defense. Meanwhile, down in the nation's capital, where Donald Trump, our president, surprisingly showed up to the Fox broadcast with Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma, the Detroit Lions ran over the already depleted Washington Commanders, scoring on every single possession en route to a blowout win in front of the president in the nation's capital over the Commanders, 44-22. So for the Lions, they rebounded thanks to an apparent change. Yeah. What kind of change was that? Xfinity Mobile. No, just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. No, they rebounded. I'll talk about what that change was. Nearly everyone on the offense looked great this week for Detroit. Although it was against a beaten up Commanders team. But Jahmyr Gibbs, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, you name it, easily killed the defense of Washington in more ways than one. And each of them found the end zone from start to finish. And what that notable change was Dan Campbell himself calling the plays, taking over from offensive coordinator John Moran over reported disconnect between the players and the coaches, including Dan Campbell himself. So if Dan Campbell can repeat the success against a better team in Philadelphia next week, then, in my opinion, I think Dan Campbell should remain the play caller, the offensive play caller for the Lions, because they're showing, even against a crappy Washington team, it seems to have some success right now. Meanwhile, for the Washington Commanders, I don't have much to say about them because they're just so beaten up physically, mentally, in all phases right now. As if being outplayed and blown out wasn't bad enough. Players like Deron Payne and Javon Kinlaw each were pulled and ejected for stupid shit that they did in the first half. Deron Payne got ejected for punching Amon-Ra St. Brown. Javon Kinlaw got flagged for, I don't know what he did to an official, but he got into it with that official. So yeah, they are a broken team right now. And yeah, J.U. Daniels, he has the ability to come back in like in a couple weeks or to a month, but do you really want J.U. Daniels to come back to this shit show for the rest of the season? So essentially the season is all but lost for Washington, but you can't have Dan Quinn also losing his teammates with it, or else like Dan Quinn has to at least steer some of the ship with his teammates, and it can't go down. It really can't go down, or else the leadership, the front office, Josh Harris is gonna really do something drastic. Then we had the Sunday Night Football game where things the primetime games were just really starting to take a really bad turn here. But anyway, the Chargers defense silenced Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers, ultimately coming away with a key win as the Chargers beat the Steelers 25-10. For the Steelers, while they're able to get away with this certain thing against a below average team like the Skid Marks, or even a good team like the Colts last week, offensive inconsistency is really continuing to bite them. They really need to play good on offense against a good team in the Chargers. They didn't get they've had to play a balanced effort in tandem with their defense against even teams like this, like against teams like last week with the Colts, and teams against like what's the one I top of my head, even against the Skid Marks, for example. It's just an example, by the way. But they didn't get any of that this week against the Chargers, who bottled up Aaron Rodgers and exposed his lack of a second deep threat. Like, all they have is DK Metcalf, and they don't even have a ground game too. So both of those things are killing the Steelers offensively. And I'm like, maybe they are still a contender, but I'm not sure about the AFC North right now, because right now it couldn't have come at a worse time for them, because the Ravens are starting to are still climbing back up. So, and they're getting healthier too. So for the Steelers, not exactly the best time to have offensive inconsistency. Meanwhile, for the Chargers, even though they gave up 5 sacks, the offensive line, for as depleted as it is, they did pretty good in this game in holding up against one of the usually tougher defensive lines in the NFL. So they gave Herbert just enough time to make key throws that got the team in scoring range, including a long touchdown for Lad McConkey. So yes, the injuries certainly have been the theme for this offensive line, but give credit where credit is due for how they handled Pittsburgh's front seven in this game. And yeah, the Chargers get a key win on Sunday night in what was a relatively uneventful game, by the way. Meanwhile, down in Green Bay for the Monday Night Football game, the week ended just how the week started. And why was that? Well, as the Philadelphia Eagles took on the Green Bay Packers, it was either a defensive affair or a game that nobody seemed interested in winning. But by the end of the first half, it was a scoreless game. And that scoreless game was finally broken in the third quarter with Jake Elliott's field goal and put to distance with Jalen Hurts' long bomb touchdown to Devontae Smith, as Brandon McManus's failed game-time field goal helped the Eagles hold off the Packers 10-7. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we finished the week with a 10-7 victory for the Broncos and a 10-7 victory for the Eagles. Yep, that's how the week starts and how it ends, just like that. So what did we learn, ladies and gentlemen, from this game? Neither team should feel good about this one. I should have honestly said that about the first game with the Raiders and the Broncos, but especially with this one, you can't, like, for two teams competing for a playoff spot, they can't feel good about how they finish this game. Like, sure, you could say the defenses played good to severely limit their offenses, but this is a game with so many missed chances, questionable decisions from a variety of players, but mainly their quarterbacks and the coaches too. While at least the Eagles were able to hang on and win this game, I seriously questioned Nick Sirianni's stupid decision to have Jalen Hurts yeet the ball on fourth down. Like, why are you eating the ball? Why are you eating the ball on fourth down? And to give the Packers a chance to tie the game. Like, what? Like, I thought you were just going to try to hard count it and punt the ball. Like, you gave them ample field position to try and tie this game. But even after that, Jordan Love in the offense, who had been shit for much of that game, they couldn't do shit with the golden opportunity to try and either tie the game or win the game. And they put in an injured Brandon McManus. They had a backup kicker, but they decided to put the injured Brandon McManus active in this game, and they put him in a no-win situation. With a 64-yard field goal that could have tied the game, but yet Brandon McManus was injured. Now going into it. Green Bay has lost 2 straight because of that, and they lost a division lead to the Lions, who now head to Philadelphia, who look just as listless in this game. So, yeah, neither team looked great, nor good, nor decent, nor solid coming out of this one. So, oof. Yeah, not a great start, nor a great ending to the week. Oh boy. So now let's look at some winners and losers from week number 9. I don't know why it says week number 9, but week number 10 at the start of the midway point of the season. My winners, the LA Rams, they're firing on all cylinders right now. They just have to fix some things on defense, but their offense is looking great, especially Matthew Stafford. The Baltimore Ravens earning, their third or fourth straight win right now after a 1-5 start. They're currently at 4-5, but they're cutting it close to the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. And their defense is looking very improved, and they're getting healthier too. The New England Patriots at 8-2, like I said, they're looking for real. They're a very balanced team firing on all cylinders. And then the losers for this week, the Carolina Panthers, like with Rico Dottle getting shut down against a very poor Saints team. Bryce Young did not deliver when the spotlight was shining on him. And he was picked apart by a very poor New Orleans team. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they got exposed on Sunday night against a Chargers team that, it normally falls apart in prime time, but their defense showed up. And it also exposed the Steelers' lack of secondary options and the ground game. So the Steelers should be concerned about this one, especially, like I said, with Baltimore coming down at their necks. And then the Buffalo Bills. Very listless performance in that game against the Dolphins. Very mistake-riddled, and Josh Allen had one of his, if not the worst game of this season. So let's wrap things up with some of the things I'm looking ahead to in week number 11. So week number 11 does provide a lot of intriguing headlines and a lot of intriguing games going into going into the second week of the midway point of going into the second half of the season. So week 11 is probably an essential one for a lot of teams, starting with what should have been the Sunday night game for this week. And that's the LA Rams and the Seattle Seahawks battling for first place in both the NFC West. And I'm not sure what their standing is, but they're battling for the NFC West in this regard. This is like a big battle between two red hot teams right now, two well-balanced teams right now in what I think is the NFC. So these two teams are on a collision course, but unfortunately not much of the nation is going to see this game because it's at a 1:00 start and it's like, the single game on Fox. So not many people are going to see that. So meanwhile, you have the Lions and the Eagles facing off each other in the actual Sunday night game, which is not to say that's going to be a bad game per se, but it's also a key division matchup, a key NFC battle, which will determine seeding later on down the line. And when you look at the Lions, they're coming off a big blowout win over the Commanders, while the Eagles coming off that low scoring affair where neither them nor the Packers looked good in that one. So they're looking to at least bounce back offensively, despite winning that game. Meanwhile, for down in Orchard Park, the Buffalo Bills host the Tampa Bay Bucks in a game where it kind of feels like must win for the Bills, but also at the same time also feels a must win for the Bucks because both teams feel a little bit stagnant at the moment. So this is a early morning must win game for both teams. That really needs to get back on track if they want to have hopes past the first round, but especially for the Bills because their hopes for the AFC East are really fading. Meanwhile, for the Chiefs, they return for their bye week as they try to, reclaim the AFC West, but they have a tall task to face as they return on the road to face the Broncos in a key AFC West showdown. So that showdown is going to go down in the afternoon. And the Broncos, they really have to get their offense together to try and close the gap and try to shut down the Chiefs. And then last but not least, we got the last international game for this season. And it's a first for the NFL as they go to Madrid. Yet that Spain crowd is unfortunately going to get a snoozer. Why do I have this as a headline? Well, it's a first timer for the NFL. That's why. Madrid is unfortunately going to get a snoozer with the Commanders taking on the Miami Dolphins. 2, 3, and 7 teams, but hey, the NFL and it's going to get its first exposure in Madrid, Spain. But those are my top 5 things going into week 11. And that puts it closer to our week in review. Another one in the books for this episode of Very Cold Lasagna. So let me know your takeaways from week number 10 in this current NFL season, whether it's in the comments on YouTube or send me a message on social media at Very Cold Lasagna on either Twitter or Instagram. Let me know your hot takes, your strong opinions on your team, any team, you name it. So let's have a conversation about it wherever and wherever on Very Cold Lasagna. But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of the Very Cold Lasagna Podcast. I am your host, Dylan Lasagna. Once again, bringing you more filthy casual takes on the world of sports. And as always, keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your filthy casual takes on the world of sports. And until the next one, when I see you in that next one, peace out.